All righty, welcome back to Zutes Fight Talk, the fight show where we bring you some combat sports straight up with no twists. And we're still lacing up the boxing gloves. Our next guest, very special guest, had a tough fight Saturday night, tough in the sense where the majority of people, I want to say 85 to 90% of people that I've talked to and seen on social media thought this gentleman got robbed Saturday night against Danny Swift Garcia for the 140-pound title. I had Herrera winning comfortably, but somehow none of the three judges were able to see what everybody else seemed to have seen. Two judges only gave him 4 rounds in the fight. Absolutely ridiculous. And Mauricio Herrera is going to give us some time on Zutes Fight Talk. Welcome to the show, Mauricio.
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing good here.
I'm doing great. And Mauricio, obviously this is a bittersweet for you because you performed so well against what people think are one of the top guys, but still, you still got to be stewing over that decision.
Yeah, it is bittersweet, going out there to Puerto Rico and having everybody against me and nobody giving me a chance, and I knew I was going to perform the way I did. I called it before, what my style was going to do to Danny, and I thought I did everything. I was happy with my performance, and I was having fun in there, and yeah, it is messed up what they did to me. The crowd's been supporting and lifting me up with positive feedback, and that's making me feel good. But I've been watching the fight alone, and it's when I watch it alone is when it gets to me. I get choked up and kind of mad and sad. But then I start to hear good stuff, and then it picks it right back up.
Now, talk a little bit about the game plan going in, Mauricio, because it seemed like you had a very good game plan, and it seemed like you stuck with it throughout, even when the fight was getting late. And I assume you were aware of what some of the scorecards were reading, and you just seemed to have a good game plan throughout. That jab to the body was working beautifully. Did you work on all of that in training camp, and what made you know that was going to work? What about Danny? Was it film? Was it just a game plan you developed with your trainer? What was the process going in?
Well, it was all of that. It's just seeing the way Danny fights. He's flat-footed and squares up at you at times. I knew that not really much of a game plan. It was more just my natural style of fighting. I knew was gonna just be a problem for him. We just worked on certain things like avoiding the left hook, and going underneath it, throwing a right and rolling it, and we just look for weaknesses, in his videos. He looks for big shots. He looks to counter a lot, and I knew just naturally my style of just boxing him and pressuring him, and I know I'm very hard to hit. I know I have a pretty thick defense, and I know we look for a guy who looks for big shots. That it was going to be hard for him to catch me, and all that played into it. It was it came out the way I visualized it, and from early on, I think I puzzled him. He looked confused in there, and I was just trying to give different looks, at times, even in like round 11, I think I think the people thought I was tired, or the commentators. No, it was just me trying to do something off the ropes. I just kind of lure him in to do for something, but he wouldn't come into it. So I was having fun in there. I felt like I almost could do anything in there at the time. I was in great shape. But, yeah, like I said, it mostly was just my style and my jab. Yeah, I knew the jab works on all my opponents. That's the key to everything. And I noticed nobody throws jabs at Danny Garcia, or at least they don't keep throwing it throughout 12 rounds. And I knew up and down that was my style of fighting. It was I guess you could say it was like a poison for Danny Garcia.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly did hit him a lot more than I thought. I thought if you were going to win the fight, it would be a little bit more of you being elusive, which you were, but your offense was key to that fight. I would like to say victory. I should say victory, but we all know what happened. But what about the opening scoring piece of it, Mauricio? Were you even informed of what the scorecards were? They read them, I believe, after the 4th round. and after the 8th round, you had to have heard it. And if you did, what was going through your mind when you heard those horrendous scorecards?
Yeah, early on they had told me, I think only, and they said that he was ahead. But in my mind, I was so focused in the concert that I didn't want to let it get to me. I didn't want to, hear that and make me, take any more risk than I had to, because that was Danny's only chance was for me to tango and exchange with him. So hearing the scorecards, I knew I was doing enough to win. And by hearing the scorecards, if I was, if it could get to somebody, it didn't get to me, because if it did, I would have probably opened up more and would have fought Danny's, the fight he would have wanted. But I knew I was winning those rounds like that, and I said, to myself, I said, if I'm going to win this fight, and if they're not going to see it that way, then it's going to be a hometown decision, then I can't do anything about it. But I didn't want to get off track, when I heard them telling me that in the first couple of rounds. I just said, I'm going to just keep doing my thing. I know I'm winning. I'm doing everything that I wanted to, and the crowd's going to, at the end, be the judge of everything, and that's just the way it went.
Now, have you rethought it at all? If you had to do it over again, would you have opened up a little bit more? You were fighting beautifully. You were following that game plan that was working so well. But obviously, we all know what was going on. You weren't going to win that fight unless you knocked them out. If you had to do it all again, would you have opened it up a little bit more down the stretch to try and put them away?
I think down the stretch, I think I just would have probably threw more punches. But other than that, I had to fight a smart fight every round, Danny Garcia is dangerous, and we just, look what happened with Khan, from opening up like that. I knew he was dangerous in that way. But, it was pretty messed up. But I said, I had to fight smart. But towards the end, I almost didn't believe how tired and confused he was. And I thought maybe he was holding back, and saving for something. But I thought I finished the round strong. But looking back at it on tape, I see how busted up and tired he looked. If I would have pushed it just a little more, maybe, who knows, I could have got a stoppage. But I still felt I won clean to all around towards the end. I think I even took it to him a lot better. And, yeah, I think maybe I could have just pushed it a little more to maybe get a stoppage if that's, because it was at Puerto Rico. But other than that, it doesn't change anything, because I still feel, I won that fight, and just that's the way it had to go.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Frank Zong. Frank has a couple of questions for you. Take it away, Frank.
Hey, Mauricio, how are you? Congratulations on that fight.
Oh, thank you.
No matter what the results came in. With this fight, you were able to give Garcia a lot more trouble than any of his other opponents, even a Zap Judo or even a Lucas Matisse, a lot of bigger name fighters. What do you think you identified with Danny Garcia that those guys weren't able to, or those guys weren't able to execute?
Well, I think the main thing is having good defense, and having good defense in the jab, I think was the key. I think, what Khan was doing pretty good with Danny. I mean, he had a good game plan of just keeping him on the outside. It was only when he tangled with him and opened up too early is when he got caught. He should have just stayed smart. With jab, I think he would have used the jab more. I mean, and not just a range fighting jab, but a jab as a weapon, use it as a weapon too. The jab is not just a range finder or something to just pump out. It's actually a hurting punch. You can look at De La Hoya. I mean, back in the day, his jab was almost like an ordinary right hand, and bust up people. I think no fighter would come in with Danny with jabs. I think they would open up wide with him and give him the chance to throw his hooks. If you just go right up the middle, straight in there, I think you can pick them apart.
So with this win and being able to really fight and pick apart Danny Garcia, not even from far away, but up close in the pocket, the way you were being able to roll his shots and come back and being able to deal with a guy like that who's known as pretty much a power puncher and as the top player at 140. How do you feel about other guys in that weight class now? I know you had a really tough fight with Ruslan Pravat a few years ago. You were able to give him a difficult fight, and you were able to give him his first loss. How do you feel about maybe him or anybody else now? Do you feel better now than you were 3 years ago? Do you feel different? And what do you feel has changed since then?
Yeah, so it's totally different from then and now because You know, there's a lot of things fighters go through, you know, in their career, and my promoters at the time were not doing their job right. You know, there was a lot of short notice on fights, you know, and there's money problems. There was a lot of things, you know, and there was not, and then not only that, just learning the game, you know, getting experience. And I think now I've gotten a lot of experience from my old promoter putting me in fights back to back with tough fighters. I've gotten a lot of experience and finding out, you know, how much to train, how hard to train, and getting the right amount of time to train. And I think that's what this fight did. You know, I got 8 weeks of good training and went at it hard, you know, and I gained a lot of experience from my past fights. So I think I just got more smarter. I think I know how to train now. I know my body more. And as you've seen with Danny, how I think I looked fast. I didn't get tired at all in that fight. I looked fast. I think my punching power is a little better. I mean, I was the one snapping Danny Garcia's head back. So I think a lot of that stuff, I think, has changed from Provodnikov fight. You know, and I just feel brand new. I feel brand new, and I feel I'm a different fighter. I finally got to show, you know, what I finally got to live up to my name, El Maestro, and show everybody what I've always wanted to do. You know, I just needed the opportunity and the right time. You know, and I think now I'll get the right time for training and the right fights, and I think that can blossom even more.
And with those harder times that you had to go through, facing a guy as tough as Provodnikov on shorter notice and being able to defeat him, what was your thought process back then? And did you dream about a point where you got a point that you're at today? Because your name has gotten bigger, even with an official loss in the books. It is a win to most people. Do you feel like you're basically arriving to what your goal was back then, when you were kind of toiling along, taking fights on short notice and having to keep yourself disciplined, even though you don't know when a fight might come, and having to stay pretty much on call in case those things happen? How does it feel to kind of? Do you feel like you still have arrived?
Yes. It was. You know what? This is a dream come true, and it's funny that I've always, you know, it's almost like I visualized everything that's happening, and you know, since the Provodnikov fight, you know, even with Provodnikov, I said when they wanted a rematch right away, but you know, we got paid we got paid peanuts for Provodnikov, and you see how I gave my heart out, and they wanted a rematch right away, but it didn't make sense at the time to just do a rematch, you know. And I called it. I told my manager, I said, you know, why get a rematch for it's the same thing? It's not going anywhere. It's for nothing, you know. That Provodnikov is a tough guy, and I said, I guarantee he will be champion one day, and we will meet again, and it would be for something worth it. It would be for a belt. And the funny thing is that Provodnikov, you know, is a champion now and has a belt. And after that, you know, I've called out Garcia a couple of times, you know, and knew that I have a good chance with him, you know. And he had all these belts, and he was beating all these names, and I knew it was back in my mind I was someday gonna get there, but you just don't know when or how, and you see everybody else, you know, getting known and for their fights and people getting fans, you know, and you just think to yourself, well, I know I'm gonna be up there someday, but you don't know when, but you just have it in your mind, and it stays in your head. But sometimes you think maybe I'll never get up there, but you just have it in the back of your head that you will, and that's what finally happened. You know, I finally got my chance with Danny, and what a dream came true. You know, everything. I know I didn't get the decision, but I know that the people saw everything that happened, and that made me feel really good. You know, and I felt that I have arrived, and you know, it's just a relief. Like, you know, you feel just finally, you know, I did it. I'm here. People got to see what I always been wanting to show off, and finally got to show all kinds of sides of me in that fight. And I know I can be much better. You know, I'm learning more and more, and just can't wait for the next fight. You know, I just can't wait to give people a great show and see and live up to my name and do everything I do to make a great fight.
Now, Mauricio, has there been any action taken in regards of the decision? Any protests, any noise that's going to come out of you and your people as a result of the bad decision?
Yeah, we're trying to make noise now. I mean, our manager's talking to Golden Boy. They're trying to they're working on that now, trying to get a rematch with Danny. They just said it's all up to Danny at the end of the day. He's the one that has to decide. So we're just trying to find out, see what they do. You know, either they're going to talk to the WBC or WBA. Maybe they're going to make a complaint there. I don't know how they're gonna go about it, but I just hope that Danny, is a man and a true champion and knows that deep down that he lost and his people, to be honest with them and know that I deserve a rematch and this is unfinished business and let's fight, not in Puerto Rico, but let's do this again. If he's gonna stay at 140, I feel he almost has to give me a rematch.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. It sounds like coming from Garcia and his people that he's done with 140. If he does move up to 147, would you be able to carry that weight and move up and fight him at that weight?
I would like to. I could move up and fight him at 147. I really would like to, put a strap on and have a belt at 140. I mean, they also offered me a Matisse fight. If Danny was to move up, maybe we can fight for, if he vacates the titles, maybe fight at 140 a couple of times, and I'll chase him back up later at 147, or who knows? Maybe he won't want to fight me at 147. I think there's different ways to go about it. I guess just deciding which way we'll go, But there's just a lot of things in my mind of what I want to do, and I guess I got to take it one fight at a time.
Well, if it's presented to you that in the next week or so that he will give you a rematch, but it has to be at 147, do you have to think about that? Could you answer now?
No, I think
that's
so.
Something you would
I think so. You know what? I think so. At 147, I think so. I think it will take on Danny Garcia 147. I mean, I honestly don't think he would, but he won't fight me next at 147. But if he does, I would fight him at 147. Why not? It's not going to make any difference.
Right. I mean, I hate to break it to you, but the odds on him granting you his rematch right away is probably slim. But just food for thought, and that's the way this game works.
I didn't really think about that, but that's a good idea. It'd be nice to fight at 147. He fights. He said he was gonna stay at 140, and after my fight, he seemed to have changed all his plans. But maybe he didn't. He doesn't think that I'd maybe go up to 147 and fight him, but I think I'd go up to 147. I don't think it would make a difference. He can blow up as much as he wants anyway after the fight. 147, I think with him, not gonna make no difference. I don't think like he says he's gonna be faster and stronger. I don't think he's gonna be any faster. Maybe a little stronger, but not as fast.
All right, Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, Mauricio. So looking forward now, how do you view yourself as where you want to be with your own abilities compared to where you are now? What's next in terms of, not even in terms of matches, but in terms of getting back in the gym and the preparation? Are you planning on working any specific punch that you thought worked well, or work on some weaknesses that you perceived during the fight, or basically what's going on next when the next time you get back into the gym seriously?
Yeah, I'm taking this weekend probably another week off, and then just slowly start getting in the gym and fine tune. I still feel I'm still in shape right now. I can get just 2 weeks of good rest, and I'll just start getting slowly in the gym, and then find out when's the next date for a fight. And I think now I'm just gonna stay in shape and stay in the gym. The Danny Garcia fight did catch me a little off guard, which is just 8 weeks of just pure training. Before that I was just kind of not even in the gym, kind of messing around, but I had to really turn it up in those 8 weeks. So I learned from that, and I gotta stay in the gym and just stay down and wait. I think any fighter can make a weight, just discipline. It's not about I can't make weight in this weight and move up to the next one. If you discipline yourself, you can make any weight you want. And so that's what I gotta do, and just fine tune everything that I do in all areas. The jab, more defense. Even though I've shown that I can do all these things, I just gotta do all that and keep learning. Keep learning different shots. Turning over my punches. On some shots, and there's just a lot of things. You're always learning in boxing. So I just keep watching old videos, and then just keep learning.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And during those rounds, what did you learn? What did you learn about yourself against Danny Garcia that maybe you didn't know before? Was it one of those things where leading up to the fight, you knew that you could have him, or there's always a little bit of doubt until you actually get him there and you start feeling the progression of the rounds? What was your mindset? How did it change as the rounds went on and on, like round 3, round 4, round 5?
As the rounds were going, I thought to myself, I didn't think Danny would struggle that much, with my style, and I just started feeling more confident, more comfortable. I thought he was going to be a a little more tougher, and but I think it's just he just looked totally surprised that I came to fight and I was there and not afraid of him, and when I saw that that look in his face, it just made me feel like a giant. I just felt like I belong here. I'm at this level, and actually felt it was almost at times it felt easy to me. I felt relaxed, knowing even though that whole crowd was against me at first. It felt like just a bunch of bees in there. Just buzzing and gave me nerves a little bit before. But in the ring when the rounds started, I just kept getting more comfortable. So I was so relaxed and had fun in there, and you can see when you watch the fight, I'm confident. He would hit me, I'd come forward, I take it like nothing, and I just thought it was my night, and I think I've got more confidence since then now, and I just feel like I'm ready. I'm just ready to take on whoever, I'm just totally feel I could prepare myself really good for anybody.
Mauricio, give us a little synopsis or evaluation, if you will, of the process of the open scoring. It sounds like you didn't give it much thought, but is that something you want to see grow in the sport? Because a lot of people have mixed feelings about it. Some people downright hate it.
No, yeah, not good for the fighters in the corner. I mean, it can in a way, yeah, they think it can work for them, but it can work against them. They can risk certain things. For instance, like a guy like me who's not a big puncher. My game plan is not to tangle with a big puncher. That can force me, if I was weak-minded, force me to just open up because I feel I'm losing and take a punch and get knocked out or something. And I think it's for the people. It takes away the drama, of the fight. That watch it at home. And it just kind of spoils the thing. I don't really like it too much.
All right. Yeah, it's not something that many people are fond of. You wonder why they do it. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Mauricio. One last question, man. Talk a little bit about the Mexican-Puerto Rican rivalry. Now that you're able to take part in a really high-profile bout in it, the Mexicans have an image of being the hard-charging warriors that come forward in the ring, but you're the more elusive guy who was able to box and counter and make them miss and make them pay. Were you able to win a few Puerto Rican fans over? How does it feel to be a part of that and have that notch under your belt now?
I mean, we got a lot of fans before the fight. Just people we were talking to. A lot of them they were on my side. I think a lot of the advantage I had is that I speak more Spanish than Danny. There's a lot of them couldn't communicate with Danny, so I think a lot of them went ahead and went on my side. And even after the fight, I got much love. They treated me well back there, and even after the fight, I just got to hang out with a lot of them, take pictures, and I got to hear a lot of their opinions. And a lot of them were for me. They didn't even know who. They didn't care for Danny. They didn't care for. It almost like they weren't gonna go for what his dad was saying. For what they were advertising. Like they just knew it was not real, or they weren't. They weren't just having it. So. I was hearing that a lot of times before the fight, and then after, they showed their love. So I think I got a little Puerto Ricans on my side.
All right, and Mauricio, if you can, give us a little compare and contrast of the two top guys that you fought, Danny Swift Garcia and Provodnikov. Compare those two fighters since you've been in the ring and you fought some big rounds with both of them.
I'm not taking nothing away from Danny. He's a strong fighter. He's smart. He can adjust. He's shown in other fights. With me, he just spoiled everything. But what Provodnikov is different. Is a different beast. Provodnikov not only he's a pretty smart fighter himself. He charges forward, but he's a good counterpuncher. But I think Provodnikov is just a little stronger guy. He's probably the toughest puncher I faced. And not only does he hit hard, but he has speed, and he can put pressure coming in, and that's the thing that he has. It's just difficult. And Danny's just a different fighter. He has a good punch too, but I think overall Provodnikov just has speed and power.
And last question I have is what you want to get back in the ring. I'm assuming soon. What's the timetable? Is it something you've discussed yet? How soon you want to be back in the ring?
Yeah, they've asked me, and I think we're talking to them maybe June or July, something like that. Just depending on what Danny's gonna do. If it's not gonna have rematch, then I guess we're gonna talk about Matisse or somebody else big. You know, it could be anybody, or see what we go about it, or maybe like you guys were saying, maybe 147 with Danny. That's a possibility too. So yeah, we're just gonna wait. So hopefully June, July will be a good time.
All right, and I don't have any other questions, Frank. I think you're finished as well, right? You have anything else?
Yeah, that was all I had, man. Thanks for coming on with us, Mauricio.
Oh, thank you guys.
All right, Mauricio, thank you. I know you're a busy man. Appreciate the time. I'll give you some final words. What do you want to say to the fans?
No, just want to say thank you guys for this interview. I want to thank everybody for all the support. Show me all the love. You guys make me feel like the champ, and I can't wait to get in the ring and perform for everybody again.
All righty, thanks, and great performance, and those judges hopefully will never be working again, but we'll see what happens, Mauricio.
Yeah,
thank you for your
they
time.
need to get fired. Thank you.
All right, thanks, champ. There you go, Mauricio Herrera here on Zutes Fight Talk. Just a disgusting decision, not going his way. I mean, it's one thing if the decision would have been a point or a draw. I mean, it would have been wrong. Just, I guess maybe I'm talking out of turn here, but the fact that the two of these judges said he only won 4 rounds, I just can't see anybody, trying to make sense out of that. And Mauricio, you heard the pro is. He said he would move up to 147 in the fight Garcia if that possibility came up. But it sounds to me like he wants to stay down at 140.